are live.
All right, we're recording, right?
Ready.
Sweet. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Gym Owners Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Stone. Over there's John Fairbanks. How are we doing, John?
I'm doing outstanding, Tyler. Do you realize how good Oregon is doing at football right now? And I want to attribute it directly to your shirt that you wear frequently.
As a guy who's not an Oregon fan, particularly at all. I got to sneeze here. Okay, as a guy who's not an Oregon fan at all, they've been doing really well.
Bless you. Yes, they have.
They've been doing really well since I bought this shirt. But you got to understand, I buy shirts at my size oftentimes because they fit and look nice.
Yep.
And this was a Nike shirt on a clearance rack, still tags on it, probably for like $30 in a nice 2XL tall athletic fit. Oregon's got some nice color schemes. This is the equivalent of like somebody's mom or grandma who likes a team just because the color.
Yep.
Like, I remember
everybody was a Hornets fan back in the day.
I remember my great grandmother having a conversation. She was like in her 90s about like, it was back when Bill Clinton was running for re-election, I think, or maybe the first time. I was that type of young. And she goes, I think I might vote Democrat this year. He's just so handsome. And that's how I ended up play the shit in this Oregon trip. But I guess this is Oregon's year. I pulled it up this morning and someone's like, yeah, we should just have them play. They're pretty much a lock for the national championship if they can get through. Yeah, cool.
Another Heisman candidate. Again, it all comes back to you've been wearing the shirt.
I guess if we want to talk about great skills for a coach and personal trainer to have, I look like a guy who should know a lot about football, NFL, college football, for sure. I played football like a guy who should know a lot about these things. And yet, what I do oftentimes before I go to some specific clients that I have to coach, I will Google college football. And I'm just like, what are the big games? I'm just going, okay, perfect. And I'll look at whatever their teams were. So I have something to go off of because I literally don't watch fucking any football at all.
You and I have never talked about this, and I have to do this exact same thing as well.
Okay.
Because I don't watch football as much. Now I'll have it on, but a lot of times it'll be
2 national championship rings with the Florida Gators. John Fairbanks here, guys, and does not watch football.
Well, and it's on, right? I'm aware of it. Like I'll watch the Gators. Like if they're on, I'll watch, right? But other than that, for the most part, I don't. But again, it's if you look the part, there's an expectation that we can talk about the upcoming draft class.
Yeah.
And I didn't give a fuck about draft classes, even when I was like trying to be drafted and be recruited. Like I didn't give a fuck about any of those things. So it's for sure a thing. And it's a good reminder, which is like, listen, you need to be who your people expect you to be a little bit. So
I can gradually ease them into the I don't really watch sports conversation. But like, also, what does that do to them? They're like, well, this is all I have.
Right. This is the topic.
We'll do this. Like I gotta, Anyway, you got to be whatever you got to be. We're going to get into some actual subject matter today that I think is actually quite important. So before we get started, make sure you follow the show at the Gym Owners Podcast on Instagram. If you're listening, whatever platform you're listening to, please leave us a 5-star review, some kind words. Give us a share amongst your gym owners, personal training, colleagues, etc. Okay, we'd like to cover some ground here. I think we're delivering some points that are very important for the entire industry to be aware of. Not just you who are out here seeking the right information. So we did a little bit. I don't know how we even got on this subject, John, but we were talking about, I know exactly how. Okay. We talked the other week about these Instagram accounts that were doing very much like kind of the same viral marketing strategy, which is they're just going to make tons of content. It's kind of free value given away. And this was in the context of martial arts studios. I follow so many jiu-jitsu accounts that are so obviously doing the exact same strategy, which is they're going to do a video about this thing. And it's all, like I said, it's all reels. It's tons of content. It's something every day. You can tell they just made a big list and filmed a bunch of shit at a time. And I don't think this is a strategy that's necessarily useful if you're trying to do brick and mortar stuff. But these guys are trying to build a large national global brand within that martial arts community so that they can sell courses and shit like that. All of the non-brick and mortar stuff that they're trying to do. That's the whole function of that strategy. But one of them, in hindsight, after having gotten through and built a pretty big following now in the last year, what he said in this podcast I was listening to, he said, the reason that I got so much growth was I started making all of my content for white belts. I got my head out of my own ass, stopped speaking as on some high level shit. Because if we're being honest, in the world of martial arts and jiu-jitsu, if you come in, there are a fuckload of people who are white belts who start to do something.
Yeah.
And if you're a black belt and you've been in for 25 years or 20 years and you're in there trying to like make content that's at such this high level that how many people make it past white belt? What percent? Like 10, 15 tops? How many people go from blue to purple? Even less. And so like the more advanced you make the content or the terminology that you're using, the people you're targeting, the less people there are. And so he said he'd get people that would come in and say they watch these like very high level, like tutorial, like instructional videos that are like 4.5 hours long, but they're like a new person to the thing. And then he rolls with them and they suck.
Right.
So essentially all that high level content didn't even help them get any better. So he just said, I peeled it all back. And he said, I caught a little hell from like the people that are way more advanced. We're like, well, geez, I mean, this isn't really something that we need to be hearing about. Oh, what are you guys? But that's exactly who the big, broad blue ocean that is out there that you're trying to fucking get into is beginners. That's what it is. That's where, like, this is the same with fitness. It's the same with everything. You're trying to get new people. And I see so many fitness people, whether they're online brands or even gyms, speaking 2, 3, 4, 10 levels beyond who their actual target demographic would be. And that's unless your gym is really like built to be like advanced competitive fitness and blah, blah, blah. Right. In which case, by the way, also probably a shit idea if you're trying to get a bunch of new people to come in. If you're fine with the ones you have and they all got to be OGs and they all got to be competitive, great. I sure hope all your competitive athletes pay you and make you a ton of money. Tends to not be the case in any gym that I've ever participated in or helped with. But
and in the education space, though, you and I also married it to the fact that like what we watched in the mid 2010s, where it was, hey, CrossFit comes onto the scene, people start talking about it. There's the Barbell Shrug podcast. There's all these things, right? And they're all new. And it hit everybody like right in the feels because everybody was starting to like level up together.
There's a bunch of average Joes who are like, I'd like to get good at clean and jerk and stuff because CrossFit's interesting. And they're empowered to go seek that information. And there was information there for them as new people, like as a person who's just trying to learn the basics. But every year that went on, every one of those educators, every one of those personalities didn't just stay in that pocket and keep drawing new people in and fostering new people's relationships with the brand as they start to pick up the hobby. So what happened is they kept getting more advanced and they just became all of these brands, by the way, not just the ones we were involved in, but all of them you see, they just get their head so far up their own ass that they have to speak to a higher level. They speak to the same people that came in on day one while they continue to learn more stuff. So at this point, if a new person comes in and is just kind of interested in learning about your subject matter, it's just way too far gone for them. So you don't attract new people. And new people are the things that you fucking want. If you're trying to do new business, like what is all of these new fitness business consulting shit that's out there? It's all this scammy, we're going to run a bunch of ads. We're going to get you 50 new members, 50 new members, 50 new members. 30 members in 30 days, 50 members in 30 days, all that shit. Do you think that you should be talking about the minutia, like these tiny little details about the squat and knee angles and fucking, like larger concepts about programming and movement principles and fucking more complicated shit? Or should you just try to attract somebody who's coming from the largest pool of potential gym members that exists right now, which is people who need to lose some weight? And go ahead, John.
No, I was like, and this topic should not be of any surprise to you because we've been calling it out for the better part of a year, which is this is your lowest hanging fruit on top of the fact of no matter what society you're in, what community you're in, but like it's now nationally very much on the forefront of everyone's minds, which is the idea of we're fat, like we're obese, and it touches it doesn't matter like what industry you're in. Whether it's you're in the military, 70% of the people can't even fucking qualify to even go into the military. So you see a massive, like we touched on that when we talked about the fact that like the government is going to go all in on Ozempic to be able to help people sign up to go fucking fight for their military, to go fucking die. It's like, well, we need them to not be so fat. So now we're going to implement these things. Like it's all around us.
Exactly. Now with this Make America Healthy Again initiative, what's happening is the global conversation is now being really pivoted towards this stuff: health, food quality, obesity. And I still believe that the things I'm seeing regulation wise is going to come from this Make America Healthy initiative is a bit misguided. I'm fine with like making sure there's not poison in our food and informing people of the things that are bad and such, but there's a big chunk about personal fucking responsibility that needs to go on, in quantities, and excess calories is why people are fat, not food dyes. So if we're worried about, if you just can't wait for them to get the red dye out of fucking Fruit Loops so that you can eat Fruit Loops again, what the fuck? Like but this is the real thing now. This right. Conversation is, I'm a known conspiracy theorist, guys. This is a fucking thing that is like siloing this health conversation now into dyes and regulation.
Right.
Seed oils. It's like fucking seed oils might be bad. I don't fucking know. I'm not pretending to know all the stuff, but I know I don't eat too much of them because I'm also trying to keep my calories somewhere reasonable. So right. Actually informing and empowering people on what they need to do to actually lose weight is so needed, because even the national conversation around health now is being shifted the wrong direction. It is being distracted. It's too far gone for people to even bother understanding. The comments I get when I make posts about these things are from normal people are alarming. But that's what I want to get at here too. So I want to put this in terms that you guys that have been gym people, if you're listening to this podcast, you've likely been a gym person for multiple years, whether it's coach, trainer, or just simply a fitnesser who's maybe trying to pivot into making this passion into a profession. Okay. So in terms of how people should eat for weight loss and the brands and the philosophies that a lot of us would use in terms that we would use when we're talking amongst ourselves, gym people to gym people, what are we using for terms? Macros, protein, grams. There's an assumption. Nutrition. Like we're also talking about what brand would you believe is probably like the most legitimate as far as in like trust and understanding? If you had to recommend somebody to do either performance or this or that for nutrition coaching, my guess in the space of fitness for long would be RP, Renaissance Periodization, right? In that all the science is there and likely they could get you towards about any goal you would want, right? But go look at what their marketing is. Also look at how much revenue that company does in a year. Most of your gyms if you're a gym that does well, you make more money than RP does. RP has about $1 million a year in revenue. That's it. It's not that much fucking money, dude. We have gyms that we work with that do more than that.
Right.
Many. So like, this isn't one of those situations where they're like just juggernaut and just killing it, right? They're not this massive brand like fucking McDonald's out there, but they're probably the biggest one or the most recognizable brand in like macros and nutrition coaching within the fitness space. I don't know any others that I would put even on that same level. Would you? Maybe it's just me and my algorithm, but that's what I see. So for those of you that if that concept you believe to still be true, like, yeah, okay, yeah, you're right. RPs, they're legit. You understand that they're probably legit or whatever. I want you to know that RP is leaving billions of dollars on the table by talking some high level shit only to you autistic fitness people who found them because of your relentless pursuit of fitness information. They're only speaking to people that are inside the pocket of fitness, way too far inside the pocket of a fitness lifestyle, to where they are leaving billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars on the table by missing the people who need weight loss and need nutrition coaching the most, which is new people who don't know where to start, who got 20 to 150 pounds to lose.
And this is sound, Tyler, because we've talked about this all the time, but it's this idea of what attracts us as coaches and as, like you said, as fitness enthusiasts, people that have done the hard doing all on our own, went and tried to find information. So of course, RP and companies that are like it, they'll speak to us directly. But we talk about it all the time, which is you are not, luckily, right? You as a gym owner, as a coach, you are not the population you serve, right? Most people that you're going to come into and talk to, while you may really dig the idea of chakras and breath work and cold tanks and cold plunges and the idea of cold shock proteins and heat shock proteins and all these really complex shit, you're probably not going to lead with the 55-year-old lady who's just come to you that interested in starting to work out. or even the teenage. Like you're
my
so
mom who's gained
far.
15 pounds every few years forever. Now she's 50, 60 pounds overweight. Doesn't really know what she did wrong. And you know what I mean? And just the idea of speaking to them about macros and what that means. Well, guys, most people don't know what 100 grams of protein means. They'll take a steak and weigh 100 grams of steak. Like, we speak so far past those terms that like now we're missing all these people. Not only does it make you bad at trying to help these people, it makes you really bad at attracting them. So there's so many of these people out here in coaching people towards weight loss. I just feel like in the fitness realm, in the world of what fitness is and can be, there's just no reason to leave that on the fucking table. So if you're in fitness and you're helping fit people get fit and you're doing also regular training stuff and hard training and strength, great. So you do all the things, the exercise, the movement, teaching, and then why can't you also help somebody lose 50 pounds, you fucking idiot? Like, and you can't sit here and wonder, why aren't all these fit people lining up to pay me? Because they don't fucking exist. And if they do, they already have a gym and it's not yours.
Exactly.
Now, what's even worse, the elitism that comes from we get this like hoity-toity, high and mighty, fucking high horse attitude.
A snake shitting into its own mouth?
Yes, correct. About all this stuff. And the thing that drives me the craziest is, so RP, we would all describe, I don't know, I'm not just jock riding, but like they just seem like legit. The science is all there, right? I just think if you wanted to prep for a show, if you wanted to just come up with a basic diet plan for whatever it is you want to do, I'm certain they can get you there. They are getting absolutely ragdolled financially, truthfully, compared to some of these companies that all of us in the fitness industry would make fun of.
Now,
first one I want to touch on real quick, John.
Go ahead.
What do you guys as fitness people think of Herbalife? What a fucking scam, right? They're over here just MLM scamming fucking overpriced supplements, whatever,
attacking stay-at-home moms, right?
Yep,
taking advantage.
Stay-at-home moms who just got some weight to lose and they're good-natured and they're just trying something new. It's just another thing they're trying. Herbalife makes $5 billion made $5 billion last year. Herbalife made $5 billion last year. What?
With a B.
With a B. Okay. RP is like around $1 million with an M. Okay.
Well, to be fair, we looked it up. Their annual is somewhere like 5 to 6 million. When you and I looked it up.
Yeah, well, it was a little.
Yeah, it was all over.
They
but
use
still.
the term over $1 million and not.
Right.
So that usually means like 1.01, but I'll give them whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
But it doesn't change the fact that the difference between
5 million, 5 million is still
and a billion. Yeah, and a billion. And to frame it more, Tyler, like the Herbalife piece, it's when we looked it up, the weight loss industry as a whole, right? We looked it up even back in 2013, the annual revenue of the entire US weight loss industry was somewhere around $61 billion. Yeah. And then you looked up, you're like, well, shit, this is from 2013. And then you looked it up and it had ballooned to 160 billion with a B.
And our obesity numbers have not improved. So our spending, all that spending is going for naught. That's what's the most alarming thing, which means these people that are in these pockets doing these services for these people are participating in a little churn and burn, which means that fucking pool of people stays ripe for someone to really come in there and fucking do the job right. Not go fine. If you want to launch some $5 billion thing, go for that. You set your visions there. Wonderful.
Right. Okay.
But your people in your community who want to lose weight, they've gotten scammed by some Herbalife isogenics fucking dipshit. Right. They've all got, everybody knows somebody who's got weight to lose, who's gotten roped into some fucking MLM scam that they just thought it was going to help. You know what I mean? And they appealed to you could use a little extra money too. You know, that whole thing. Now, Herbalife is just one aspect.
Yeah, they're not just, it's not a one-off as far as these companies.
The one that I think is the most compelling. I want you to ask your fitness colleagues, ask them what they think about Weight Watchers. It's like literally like a running joke. It's like a Thigh Master level joke, in my opinion. What our impression is as people that have been in fitness. What am I gonna do? Fucking Weight Watchers? What are we know about? Points, right? And Weight Watchers is, I think, $1 billion.
Yeah, they were $1 billion.
Over $1 billion a year. So again, the most legitimate, like science-backed stuff that's out there is still missing the mark, not because it doesn't work. Because you're speaking over these people's heads and you're not attractive to them. You're not trying to help them. Trust me, if RP wanted those people, they can get them. It's a little bit of fucking effort, a little bit of better copywriting, a little bit more different targeted advertising. It's a missed opportunity that the entire fitness industry continues to fucking flub. And it's embarrassing to sit here while y'all are the ones out here actually trying to make a difference, and the country keeps getting fatter and fatter and fatter and fatter. Well, what are you going to do about it? Change the way you talk and who you talk to. Start with that. That's pretty simple.
And the person that really mapped this out for us well was a couple of years ago. You and I met with like this master copywriter who's working with a couple. Again, once you level up within, no matter what game you're playing, coaching, personal training, gym owning, whatever it is, you will eventually level up into these different phases. At the end of the day, becoming a master copywriter and hiring someone for $10,000 to help you write copy for a single landing page, which is what this guy was, is probably not super relevant if you're making less than $1 million a year, right? And then it starts to become more relevant, and you could argue either which way. But what was interesting is when we sat down and talked with them, there was so much work that went in, all the pre-work that went in way before he ever did the copywriting for a customer, for a client. And it all came back down to identifying who are the people you have, and then who are the people that are like them that are not at your gym yet, and what's the gap that they have to leap, that they have to make to jump to get to your gym. And he really started to identify the amount of work that oftentimes will go in on the marketing side and copywriting and all this stuff and advertising, when it is you're trying to attract people that are just too far away.
Exactly.
They're not ready to make the jump. You're spending all your time trying to convince those people when they're 2 years away from ever stepping foot into any gym, let alone yours.
Two sides of this coin, right? The first one is you're speaking to people, trying to convince them that they should lose weight and that it's okay to lose weight and all that. It's too much. They're not ready. They're just actually not ready. And then the other side is what's going on. What we see, the problem we're talking about today, which is like, you're speaking to such a narrow pool of people that there is no business for you to be done in, right? You're talking about like let's just say a Squat University type account. Well, he's able to speak to bunches of coaches and shit who want to learn about the minutia of a squat and all these silly little movement patterns that is important to bunches of autistic coaches who just want to dork out about that shit, right? That's great. You are not that. Unless you want to be that, then go down that road. But if you're a gym solving your gym problems, that needs bodies. And that needs bodies who likely are not interested in that minutia, that type of content, mirroring the same type of content that attracts you as a semi-autistic fitness dork who's obsessive about it all. Talking like that is just going to weird out normal people. Go like, I don't know, that guy seems like a lot to fucking deal with. You know what I mean? That's just going to weird them out. And, this guy we had talked to, there was something he also said too, which was interesting. When he was talking about this subject, John, he even said, like, he doesn't really identify himself as a gym person at all. Like, he already, when he was going through this project with us for gyms, he already kind of had it framed in his head. Like, oh, I'm not one of these. I'm not like you. I'm not one of these things like you. I've this is so foreign to me that I wouldn't. I mean, the concepts he knew for how to write copy. Right. He wasn't about to take action. He literally was already, when it was gyms, he was already conversationally guarded. Like, I'm not a gym guy. I'm going to be a gym guy now. So he was already too far back. And he used that as an example, which is like, none of these gyms that you're going to get are going to get me. I'm not interested in joining a gym. I'm not there. And I've got the weight to lose, by the way.
He had 200 pounds to lose.
Yeah, it's the idea of the gym that was already too much for him. So that if you're speaking too far down that other line, trying to convince a guy like that to join your gym, you're wasting your effort too. Right. So you don't need to be hyper patronizing. You don't need to be like, trying to give people hope that there is hope. You know what I mean? You need to get people who are about to take action, that are actually made a decision to take an action, right? Trying to convince somebody that they could buy a car, it's not that big, is like not really worth your effort if you're trying to sell cars, right? Correct. You want people who are in the market for a car and say, come get a car from us then. You've decided you need a car. We got cars. Okay. Right. And that's the type of language we need to be doing if we want to actually attract people. But there are so many people in this little corner, in this little demographic, that have the weight to lose, that don't know where to start. And maybe just that thought experiment. Who are these people? How should we speak to attract these people? What is the terminology we should use? And when we implement stuff as fitness professionals, as coaches, we try to like make things ironclad for our peers, for the criticism of our peers, to insulate ourselves from criticisms of our peers.
Sure.
So you make this, well, so I try to make some stuff where it's like, you know, how did I put it? I was like, basically my thing in the beginning when I start teaching weight loss is like, for dudes is like, yeah, no snacks. You're gonna eat breakfast, you're gonna eat lunch, you're gonna eat dinner. No snacks. That shit's for chicks and for kids. Just fucking no sweet bullshit. You don't need snacks in between your meals. I don't give a shit. You'll be fine. But I then started, when I was making that into some content that was free and public, I ended up having to add these caveats, which was like, well, I understand that snacks can be a viable part of a long-term sustainable fitness plan, and it's okay. But for this, fuck me, dude. Like, no.
But why did you do that?
Why did I do that? Because somebody else is going to say, well, actually, it's overall calories that actually is what matters. And so that there's no reason you could spread it out. Because then if someone's hungry, they'll be less likely to. Who fucking cares? Fuck that guy. That guy was never going to buy anything from me. Is he going to sit there and say that I'm an idiot and I'm wrong? Who's going to listen to him either? Who cares? Let's go. Shirt off. Let's see who looks better. Fuck off. That's how I do this math. No, that's the way I'm doing this math from here on out. But the way I look at it is like exactly as that. It's like, why did I add all these caveats? Why did I try to protect myself from the criticism of somebody who's never going to do any business with me? Why am I protecting myself from black belts on this information when black belts don't buy any fucking thing from me? I want white belts.
They never will
to come through the door. Yeah. If you're the guy that only the most bitter, autistic, highly specific dorks want to shit all over on their own social media, great. Those people are not deterring normal people from doing business with you. Those people are really annoying. Comes off as really petty. Like, who cares?
And regular people don't have fitness autism in their algorithm.
Correct.
Like, we really look back at like the algorithm and what companies are going to pay really good money to put shit in front of people's eyeballs. Is there's a lot of money that goes into that. It's the same exact framing for me, which is like, people are just giving away drugs at Halloween and it's in the candy. It's like, hold on. You know how expensive drugs are?
Yeah.
No one is just giving shit away. Like, and so that's where it's like, wait a second. Like, understand there's lots and lots of jobs and job titles and hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars that are going to go into what you are going to consume as just a human in the United States and globally. It's not going to be by accident what gets in front of you. And if your general public, they have no idea what the fuck Squat University is.
None.
Right? Like, there's
the guy either.
Because
to the people, but those of us who mirror that type of content is a waste of your fucking time. Like,
correct.
What are you doing? Like, speaking like that to give yourself some, like, I don't know, like beyond your region clout is useless for anything within your region.
And this goes to so much of this goes to a much deeper concept that we've talked about over the years for personal trainers, gym owners, and coaches, where it is when you want to get better at something and you're learning on the job, because a lot of what we're going to do is you're going to be learning every step of the way. Right? The disingenuous phrase that gets used all the time is you fake it till you make it. You just keep going with it, keep learning, and you keep having that desire. But as you keep learning how to do these things, when you're unsure, what's the very first thing you do? And kids do this all the time as they're coming up and they're learning. They mimic. So you're going to mimic first. And you mimic first because it's, these are the people I'm following. They're doing these things, so I'll do those things too. And then over the course of a period of time, you get more confident with what your voice is, what your real opinions are, and you'll borrow those opinions all the time. The issue that comes in is that because the gym space is saturated by autists and by those of us that have been in the industry for 10, 20, 30 years, whatever.
It's obsessed people who are way too far down those channels.
And that's it. So the mimicking, we all just end up looking the fucking same. Everything looks the same. And the problem is that you're mimicking an account or a gym or a brand, having no idea why they do what they do. And more than likely, they don't really have a really solid idea of what they do because they've been doing the same fucking thing. They've just been doing it for 5 years longer than you. And that's where we started to start this reframe, which is like, why are we trying to be successful? Exactly. And we're mimicking this. Meanwhile, there are literal masters. Like they're putting on a fucking masterclass every single year to the point of $1 billion to $6 billion per year of annual revenue. And we're just like, well, fuck those people.
Yeah. Yeah. Weight Watchers. Hell no. And that's, so those of us, when we talk about why you should start, you need to start speaking nutrition, you need to hang your hat on nutrition, you need to get good at coaching nutrition, because that is the most important thing that affects the success or failure of any of your clients' endeavors, is that you cannot be sitting there trying to implement RP level stuff, right? Which is fine. If you're going to do the whole distance, the same type of stuff as a Renaissance periodization, where you're going to have this full ironclad thing and systems, and you've got nutritionists and PhDs, like that level of fucking input to your thing. You're going to implement that type of stuff with that type of terminology, you're going to get fucking nobody. Okay. Instead,
you'll get 5% of the only people.
Yeah. Why won't you just speak to the types of people who tried Weight Watchers last year? Because there's a fuckload of them, dude. $5-6 billion a year. Like what? That's the thing that makes me the craziest. Is it like let me stop shitting on this stuff. Let's give you a little strategy here, okay? Right. Look up what Weight Watchers marketing is, the terms they use, some of the things that they do well. There's a lot of it that works as far as attracting people. They've essentially attracted mostly females is kind of their main thing, and they tend to view like, well, we can get a bunch of men. That's our next way to pivot, and maybe time will tell. But again, that's what's most important, is they're making all this money, and it's like 99% female. 90% female, I believe, was what the number was. But those of us in this industry who are trying to speak high level stuff and deliver some like really high level, overly complicated, scientifically ironclad thing, instead of just a process that would work for a new person, in our copywriting and in our marketing, we are getting crushed financially in comparison to the dumbest shit that we make fun of the most, right? You're getting smoked out there by Herbalife, guys. You're getting outsold by Herbalife in your own fucking towns. You're getting outsold by Weight Watchers in your own fucking town, dude. Like, how is that happening? And are they getting a ton of results? Likely not even that necessarily, just because of maybe the lack of the commitment, the lack of personal connection. Like, I'm not saying these things can't work, but because there's so many people doing business with them, I bet the fucking success rate is not even that high either. But they're doing the right thing by speaking to the right people. So quit fucking around trying to do some high level shit and trying to speak about some high level shit, and just go out there and get some of these new people who bought Weight Watchers last year, the year before, or who's thinking about buying Weight Watchers, signing up for Weight Watchers now. Those are the people you should be getting. Look up Weight Watchers stuff. Go follow their social media. Think about the terminology that they use. Look at how dumbed down it is. It's about like making it so. Did we get some of those principles that they?
We did, yeah. So some of the things, right? And while Weight Watchers, we just make fun of it, and when we boiled it down to what they do, right, was they give people what they want and not what they need, right, as a general rule. And that comes down to one of the points that we brought up as we look through all of their content, which was they're really teaching as little as possible. And this oftentimes is going to be where you can shit on it from our perspective, which is like, well, are you teaching a man to fish, or are you giving a man a fish? But the reality is a motherfucker has to like fish first before they're going to go learn how to fish.
And not only that, sometimes a man just wants to buy fucking fish.
Right.
John, right? Like, that's the reality. I want to buy fish so I can eat fish. I don't want to learn how to fucking fish. That's the reality of it. So sometimes we got to get off our high horse that we're going to teach everybody to meticulously count macros, and they need to understand protein and carbs and how it works. No. Tell a motherfucker to eat 3 eggs for breakfast and check in with you at noon. I don't know what to say. Like, there's some of that can fucking, there's a gray area between these two extremes of teaching a man to fish and just handing him a fucking fish that fucking works. And that's the same thing that I take with the Ozempic stuff, the weight loss drugs. That will give a man a fish. It's going to take away the appetite. The weight will come off. Your job is during that process, while he's eating fish and enjoys the fucking fruits of his labor that he never did, is to then make sure that he can keep this and he can learn to appreciate this process. And he'll learn the skills he needs to so that he can continue to sit at this table and eat in the future on his own, standing on his own 2 feet. And teaching as little as possible in regards to Weight Watchers is good because they don't want to fucking great. I can buy one of their things. There's their list of approved stuff. I can buy some of their products. Wonderful. I have these resources. I want to go eat. Let me look it up. I don't have to learn all the ins and outs of this. I just know this is X amount of points. This is how many points I got to use. Sweet. It's basic budgeting, and that's the furthest that they need to go. And people, that makes sense to people. Correct. John, if you want to sign me up to learn a bunch of new shit that's like outside of my scope, things that I do professionally and my current interests, like, and I got to take a deep dive into it, I'm really not that interested in.
No, people don't want to become a fucking nutritionist.
No.
And that I think is the mistake where any of us that sell nutrition talk about it. One, we talk about it the wrong way because no one says they want a nutrition plan. No regular human does. They go on a diet. That's why the question that gets asked in the polls are, did you try a nutrition program this year? No, they don't fucking ask that. They say, at any point over the last 12 months, have you dieted? That's what they're asking.
And how many did, John? What was that number? I think we had that. More than half,
50, right? Yeah, more than 50% of Americans that were polled identify as having been on a diet or are actively dieting. And this is when we called it out, which is this idea where, okay, so you have a $160 billion industry. That means there are a ton of businesses like Weight Watchers, like Herbalife, that are going to make billions of dollars. Now, remember that these two companies just amount, if we're being conservative, make up 5 billion of that 160. But yet they're making money while over half of the people say they want a diet. While we know the obesity epidemic continues to grow and becomes more of a problem, and yet we, for some reason, as an industry, don't want to open that funnel any wider. Because if you really think about what Weight Watchers is doing, is the average person just needs to be able to eat whatever they're eating and can follow a plan that's just been done for them. And can they get there? And then that will make a nice wide opening where you can capture a bunch of people in. And you will have a percentage of people that want to go deeper. Well, then you can get more complicated if you ever wanted to, but now it's on their terms instead of you forcing them to now become a fucking scientist when it comes to food science.
So those first two things that Weight Watchers does well, which is teaching very little and having it done for you, those are convenience metrics. Those are appealing to people in the beginning. It's the same reason fast food is successful. So it's just convenient. It's just, okay, perfect. That doesn't sound too complicated. Fine, whatever. But those also sometimes making a convenience play in your product design or marketing is not always the right move in regards to client success, right? That's not all. So there's a little bit of balance here. The one thing that Weight Watchers also does is there is accountability built into their system. There's meetings, there's calls, there's a whole process.
They have you come in to weigh in.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you can do in regards to accountability that if you choose that are going to then, that is now a huge lever that gets pulled in regards to the success of the client. So now that product, sounds to a normal person like, great, I don't got to fucking become a scientist. If I'm in a pinch, I can just buy some of these things off of this approved list, right? That I know are good, that I know fit my plan. And then I'm going to be held accountable if I drift. Like, I got to go in and check. Great, somebody to protect me from myself. Wonderful. That's enough. Like, those are the three things that really, really are enough. And that, I don't know that is a perfect system. I'm going to say for sure that it probably isn't. But there's nothing that's going on in there that you can't do from a market. All you need to do is sell. Let me start with this first.
Correct.
Okay? They're selling based on just kind of those concepts. And you look, like I said, look them up. Do a little research into the shit you clown on that's kicking your ass. I don't understand why you wouldn't. Okay. But go do a little look into it. And you're going to realize that these people fucking mop the floor with you for a reason, because they sell a lot. And they're not selling like completely like some disingenuous shit. Like, it's there. There's a chance for it to work. We keep calories down. We hold you accountable. There's like, I'm not going to shit on it as a whole, but like, it gives the people what they want, not what they need. That really is the thing in the beginning, because that's a great selling point. And the next one that you mentioned here was they market the feeling, not the product.
Right.
And what was some of that stuff? Like even in all of the testimonials that they were using, like it literally is using the words like, I feel great. I feel this, like I've never felt better. It's very, very, very interesting. It's not about the macros. It's about the result, and the result is the feel. The result is weight loss, and then how I feel. You attach a feeling to that actual successful outcome, and now you have this very potent mix, this potent concoction of copywriting that I think works really, really well, which is, man, I lost 25 pounds and I feel amazing. I feel so much happier than I used to before. I used to feel like shit. But now that I've got this weight off, I look in the mirror and I really feel like I've accomplished something great. Literally, just that simply using that specific term, let alone using some of these more like clever workarounds that you can do, is kind of the centerpiece of all their marketing.
It is, because this is like marketing and sales 101. Anytime you buy, it's understood within the marketing world that it's always emotional. There's never a purchase that's not emotional that you make. So this is why you sell the destination, not the journey, right? If I'm a travel agent back in the day, right, I'm not going to sell somebody that they're going to go to New Zealand and they're going to have to suffer for 21 fucking hours on a middle seat with a kid crying and kicking their chair behind them. No, we're going to fucking sell the goddamn Kiwis and shit that you're going to get to do once you get there. And so because that is fundamental, and they understood fundamentally who their audience was. If Weight Watchers knew that 90% of those that identify as a dieter or someone that is actively dieting or has dieted in the last year, if they understand that 90% of those people, of that 50%, are female, then how they're going to market is then going to appeal to your female demographic, which is going to stereotypically be more in line with and more in tune with their fucking emotions. And if you've done any type of nutrition, any type of dieting work, anytime that you're interacting with anyone, male or female, it's always emotional.
It's always.
Right? I'm not an emotional individual, but man, if we want to talk about like losing weight, I immediately go back to being the fat little kid growing up. Like that's a trigger that's going to exist, which is like your why. That's oftentimes why it's like you got to hit ground, like people got to hit below ground level. Like they got to go deep. There has to be something that's a trigger point that then cause them to say, all right, I got to get my shit together. And Weight Watchers has just identified that those emotions, those feelings will then help people be able to do what they want to do. And you don't overcomplicate it. Again, it goes back to their next principle, which is you give them what they want, which is make it easy for them to be successful. But you called out, Tyler, like this system of you teach as little as possible, it's done for you, and you provide accountability. That is a system that works because that literally is the challenge concept that inundated this entire industry for the last fucking decade.
Yeah.
We're going to make a challenge. It's short term.
Fixed timelines, so you understand desired outcome. Like those concepts can work if you're not doing it like a scumbag and you care that the results happen. Right? Because that does attract new people. So then just don't fumble the fucking bag. Do better and you'll be fine. Don't sell somebody else's shit. Don't do that or work as a workaround for your own brand. Like this is now a thing that should be directly fitting your business. Those outcomes should directly benefit your business just as much as it does the consumer. I want to jump back to the feeling thing too, is you better get used to, you want to get better at coaching nutrition as well as selling it, is you need to understand that feeling is everything, right? Like you just said. People need to feel rock bottom before they decide to change. You just speak to someone who is already there, who's already made that turn. You don't need to convince somebody that rock bottom's coming. No. They'll get there. They'll get there. Yeah. But on the other side of it, know that every single thing that we think and feel about food is emotional. Most food is based upon nostalgia, memory, emotion, and feeling. Almost all of it. Johnny, I walk into a room and I can smell like something. I don't even know what it is. There's some of those things that are immediately like a house where there's a casserole or something being made, and then immediately It is grandma's house, this, that.
Correct.
Like it literally will completely trigger tons of tons of memories from the past, good, bad, or otherwise. Smells. Most food is habituation. Most of your bad food habits, it's not because it makes you feel awesome. Like, go eat a double quarter pounder and 4 McDoubles and a fucking large fry and shit. Tell me how good you feel literally right after it's done.
Yeah.
That's not, but you're there because like, oh, it is McDonald's. I kind of like this. And it's just this momentum thing that happens when people are binge eating, or they just decide that they like or want something like ice cream. Make me feel really good. But like, for how long? What are we talking about here? Like, what? It made you feel good. What do you mean? We're talking 2 minutes of that. Like, it's all based on like nostalgia, emotions, or the suppression thereof, right? And memories. The foods that you like a lot of them aren't that good. If you really go back to it, if I were to list like some of the most impactful foods, it's not the best foods that I've ever had. Give me a green bean casserole. You know what I mean? With like a weird amount of ketchup on it. Like, I don't know. Like, that's some of that shit is the stuff that rings the bell because it's in you forever. When people don't educate their kids about food and they eat completely off the rails, this is why, like, I want fucking pizza rolls. That's why those types of tantrums come up and shit like this, is because that's an insane thing for a child to flip the fuck out about. Yet it happens a lot. Try to tell a kid they can't have candy. Right. See the meltdowns from a kid that's been given lots of fucking candy whenever they want. Like, that's a huge, huge problem.
The other point that you brought up earlier, Tyler, which is they're selling. And this, I think, is like kind of the last principle, which is these companies, no matter how you feel about them, because you got to check your baggage. All of this that we're talking about, we're not trying to turn you into Herbalife. We're not trying to turn you into Weight Watchers. But you have to leave that baggage of whatever you feel about these companies at the door and look at them truly for what they are, which is the thing that they're always doing is they're actively seeking new people, new audiences, which is possible when you allow your funnel to be nice and wide. Yeah. You can get as many people in as possible because you can continue to market it to where I bet the people that are willing to do the steps and follow, and this is, you all know to be true, is that any diet will work.
Yep.
And that is where we will get too up our own ass when we become too militant about the thing. And at the end of the day, Weight Watchers just says, no, point system, eat whatever you're eating. We'll attribute points to it. You keep your points. If you follow that step, combined with everything else that they give you, you will have success. That's why, like, any training will work. The only time that does not become true is when you're fucking master expert level and now you're just hoping for a 1% increase in your total over the course of a fucking year. But that's like a 0.5% of 1% of the population. Like, that's no one.
Yeah.
So why are you leading with that? And it's what we've called out before, which is, oh, well, this is now you're flexing for other people that are in your industry to think how smart you are, which literally leaves you poor.
My most locally interacted with types of content that I actually had somebody tell me 2 days ago, they really, really like that I make these videos, is just like my stupid, like, simple, low calorie snacks and shit like this.
Sure.
Just like almost comically like boy brain shit, which is like,
for sure, the
turkey, mustard in my mouth. If I want a snack, what else more do I need? Like, fucking no calories on the mustard. Those types of things. My fucking microwaved egg whites on a low carb. This isn't some fucking brilliant, like nutritional fucking, or what's like culinary adventure that I'm taking somebody on that's good. It's almost like,
correct.
Look at what type of slop I'm willing to eat. Like, it's fucking easy though, you dumbasses. And look at how little calories it has. Like that rules. And I had somebody literally that said this, and then I was leaving the other day, was another guy was like, hey, like, keep making those. I save all of them. And I'm like, well, thanks for never clicking like on a single one of them also, by the way. Like, not even once. It was like not even one time. But again, I'm not here to chase likes. I know now for sure, based on simply that interaction, like, that does connect with the type. And this is a guy who's not really, really going to a gym, and he's almost like afraid to ask me nutrition questions and shit. And it's like, I've known him for a long time. So I talked to him. Like, just fucking, I'm like, just message me, dude. What are you talking about? It. Well, feel bad. I'm not paying you. Just fucking stop. If you got a question, I'm happy to help. Stop. And so that way you are available and you're, so I know that clicks with like just normal dude doing normal shit. I'm not talking over his head, trying to teach him. Stop trying to teach with everything that you do.
Correct.
It's, you know what I mean? And that's a lesson that probably we could learn too as well, because I'm not making a ton of other content. But who the fuck are you talking to? Are you trying to bring them all the way up to speed with all the knowledge you have? They don't want that. I don't go to my mechanic hoping that he's going to teach me about all this shit. I don't want to know how it works. I don't care. Told this when I was a service technician before. I would go in, and before we got like a real good sales system and script in regards to our service delivery script that was made more sense around what a customer's desired experience actually was, technicians would go all the time into somebody's house and be like, okay, well, this thing is bad. And they're like, okay, well, what do you mean? Because they don't know what that means. And then you start explaining to them all the ins and outs of how this part of their system works, and they fucking glaze over. You watch them stop caring. And as a person who's habitually talks over people in normal situations socially, I recognize that immediately. And then I was like, fuck. When I did then you do what I would do in normal social situations, which is like, all right, I got to talk this to the end and then I'm done. But I know they're checked out completely. Correct. Finish my point so I don't just make it about them ignoring me now. And let's get out of here. Brought to you by autism. Now, that is the reality of these situations. Is you don't need to throw more out there. Just speak to these people. So if you want to give diet tips, like if you want to make little content, whether you're going to write something up, whether just something, throw a simple tip out there. That's going to be kind of free value for somebody that's in that position. That's a good little metric to practice. Like, who would it be for? Simple one I had, which was the other day, which was like, hey, free weight loss tip. You don't have to log and track everything that you do. Just look it up. Every time for you, just look it up. You'll be shocked. Because I went to Dairy Queen the other week for my kids.
I saw this post of yours.
Dude, I went to Dairy Queen for my kid's birthday. And it was like, we'll go to Dairy Queen. I don't eat out much. So I go there and I'm looking at the menu and I'm like, oh, fuck. And I wasn't going to get a meal. I was like, we're just going to get a dessert. And I would always normally get like a large blizzard or something.
Large blizzard, absolutely.
These are 1,500 calories. There's no way you can get out for like a medium or large and have something that you want for less than 1,000 calories.
And the mini is a shot glass.
The mini is not small. The mini is smaller than the small. Those are 400 calories each. Yeah, at least.
It's 400 calories in a 2-ounce cup. Is what it is.
Cone is almost 500 calories. Like, and so that's, I saw it and I went, man, people don't even know. They don't know. You could go there. You could be a guy. There's a town. It's like a smaller town, hour or so away from here. They're like a Dairy Queen is like the only really Dairy Queen and Subway are the only two restaurants they have in their town that's not a cafe. So like anybody that does blue collar work, mechanics, farmers, everybody, like they might hit Dairy Queen 2 or 3 times a week for lunch. For sure. Like burger, fries, Coke, and maybe an ice cream. And then there's tons of families that might go there once a week, once every other week for dessert and shit, or meals. If you get a meal and a medium ice cream at this place, like you're not getting out of there for less than 2,500 calories under any circumstances. No. That's fucking crazy. And I think people don't understand that. And so giving that in the context of what they're doing in that language, which is Dairy Queen, dude, what the fuck? And now they don't even understand how much calories they should be eating necessarily. But I always throw it out there. It's like, unless you're really working your ass off, like if you're not going to the gym or much, like there's almost nobody that needs to be eating much more than 2,000 calories a day. Likely, if you want to lose weight, it should be less. But let's just assume that that recommended daily thing that they say, and I was like, well, I'm fine. I'm with that, actually. I'm like, whatever. If everybody ate 2,000 calories a day, we'd probably be a lot healthier, right? So I'm like, let's just see what it would take to hit this mark. You could go to Dairy Queen and not even finish one fucking meal, and then you don't get to eat the rest of the day. It's crazy. But now that becomes an actual moment where you're going to get them interested in these dipping their toes in the water parts. That is now an entry level conversation for them to start attracting them and opening their eyes to some of these ideas. Not, what, you didn't get your body weight in grams of protein in today? What, are you fucking stupid? You're trying to get small? Like, it's all so far over people's heads. Or the stuff's like, carbs aren't necessarily bad. We don't really need to demonize food groups. So you're already speaking too quick. Yep. Where did you eat today? You know what I mean? You're like, McDonald's. Let's look at what I used to eat when I would go to McDonald's. What would that do for me? Holy shit, I would never do that again. Here's why. This is the type of language that you need to start doing. These are the ideas, and this is the direction some of your communication needs to be, because these people do need to come in to working with you knowing that nutrition is important. It is the most important thing. Okay. But they are in a very different place than you. So you need to just know that if they want weight loss, here's what you can do to help. But you don't need to be a scientist to do it. You need to be the guy that knows what they should or shouldn't eat at fucking Dairy Queen. They want that more than they want you to be a goddamn genius. I promise.
Because it's about them. Like, and this is a fundamental principle that we collectively as an industry, we miss, is that when it comes to talking to people and serving people, you're serving them. When you walk into a restaurant, they don't just, unless you're paying a lot of money, they don't just give you the food. They give you a menu of options and they let you choose. They don't talk badly about the fucking things that are on it. They say, here you go. You're hungry. You want something. Here's the options to choose from. But for some reason, when it comes to marketing within our industry, we just know that everyone are idiots. So we don't consider what they want. We just give them a one size fits all thing. And when that doesn't work, then we're like, oh, well, their problem. Yeah. It was the client's problem. It's like, well, you should probably just have an idea of what is it that they want when they walk through the door, but you need to understand your people. And that is exactly what you're calling out to. And we're lucky enough to have people that are close to us that kind of, for me, started this conversation, which was like, you guys are determined as personal trainers, like you want to be able to attract the 99% of the population. Mm-hmm. And they go, but every time, and for me personally, it was like every time you put a video out of you deadlifting over 600 pounds, you realize that you're hurting the exact mission that you want to do. And at first, because I recommend always having this attitude, is you tell those people to get fucked and tell them to go fuck themselves first, because that needs to be your go-to, because who the fuck are you? You don't have any idea. But then step back a little bit and be like, what do you think? What do they mean by that? Yeah. And that's what really started it, where it was, again, it's like, well, it's just because you guys are a bunch of fucking vain idiots that are meatheads that want to lift heavy, and you want everyone to think you're awesome because you lift heavy.
And you realize that, yes, shit, that is it. But I'm not going to delete that completely part of my personality.
Correct. So, but it's like, but
I gotta build around that with some more accessible stuff.
And that's where that lesson then came from, where it was like, all right, let me look at this, then zoom back and look at it and be like, well, where are the people at? What is it that most people are doing? Because you for sure, I'm seeing you eat fucking sliced deli turkey with mustard, and I'm at the fridge and I'm like, I got mustard. Yeah. I have turkey. All right, well, here we go. Off I go. And now I'm fucking doing the same thing. And that's where, again, you got a lot of feedback from that. I went to Wendy's. And I went to Wendy's and I ran an idea that I looked up, of the idea of like, how can I get out of Wendy's with the most amount of protein, the most amount of meat for the least amount of dollars? And I just posted that thing. Hey, you can go do these steps and you can walk away with 2 pounds of beef for $10. And you can do this. I got a ton of interaction and reactions to it, because that's approachable. That is on regular humans and most daily, weekly lives.
Those are the people, those types of people who interacted with that. Those, you know who didn't interact with that, John, and leave comments? Fitness people who are already have their shit figured out and know everything and know what's right or wrong about what they can and can't eat and all that shit. None of them interacted with this. You got a bunch of normies who are interested in losing weight, or who eat at Wendy's a lot, which, by the way, are probably people who like need to lose some fucking weight. Like, therefore, there's a larger conversation to be had. You start opening the door, but you're opening the door that's right in front of them. And I think that's what's important. We're opening doors that are so far away from these fucking people. And they don't even see what's on the other side at all. They're not really that fucking interested in what's on the other side at all, because there's so much between me and where that door is. It's just, I don't fucking care. And I think that was a perfect piece of content. I want to give you guys one more thing that you can do, because I've been building this a little bit lately. Go to your clients who've already had weight loss success. ask them, like, give me a list of a handful of restaurants that you used to go to a lot, whether it's fast food or otherwise, and what like your go-to order was back when you were doing fat guy shit, right? So because not all coaches used to be fat guys, so you may not have these. I used to be a fat guy, so I was pulling up my own and I was just logging them in my food tracker, and then I'm just going to make posts about each one of them. Like, here's what I used to get when I would go to McDonald's, and I'll post the pictures and all stuff. And here's how many calories. So you can tell a little story about it, which is right. And then how you got from there, kind of like, and you can do that with every goddamn. Now you all of a sudden have this entire great content series. You can do it in writing, you can make videos, whatever you want to do. But you can do that for any number of these restaurants that now, I promise you, McDonald's brand recognition is worth a lot more than yours as a gym or as a trainer. Therefore, if yours like, here's what I used to eat at McDonald's, like how I got fat as shit, and boom, done. And so that was a concept that my wife was running with. And some of those are really eye-opening. But ask your clients, get some of your clients go-to orders, because not everyone's going to be gluttonous. That's what I noticed when I was looking at mine. I'm like, what is 6 Johnsonville brats, buns, and then potato salad like? But like, don't get me wrong, I live in a place where that's probably a pretty common meal for a lot of people. Sure. But like there are probably normal people that struggle with weight that are just having 2 bratwursts or something too. But they need to know that those things are like fucking 300 calories each and almost no protein. And you're like, fuck, what am I doing here? And those become good teaching moments because you're teaching people about what's right in front of them,
where they are,
and they're ready to be interested in learning about it. Because if they weren't interested in learning about it, they'd go away. Yeah. So I think that's a little exercise for you to do as coaches, personal trainers. If you don't know what you should do or how you should teach nutrition coaching as well, it's a great starting point, because it's going to give you an idea of what these people eat and what they like to eat and what they used to like to eat. And that starts to put you into their own shoes, which now when you're trying to sell to and attract some of these people, you're going to be speaking their language. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, because you're making those dots, they're able to be connected easier. Yeah. It's just, it's more in front of them where they don't have to make any leaps. I do eat at Dairy Queen. Yeah. My kids do want to go and they want to get ice cream every once in a while. So it's like, all right, well then, and as a parent, even if you're somebody that's not immediately on the train, because you're going to have a lot of folks that they'll care more about what they're feeding their kids than they do themselves.
Yeah.
Right. And one thing that can be is, even if you are one of those silent followers, which definitely is, like, I have people that are out there, is the mom or the wife is definitely not going to hire me to work with her, because it's just not how I've put myself out there. But you share some of these things. Oh, no, we're going to get small blizzards this time, you guys. Like, we're going to do this because, oh shit, I never realized there was 2,000 calories for one of these things, and my kid does not need all of that. So now we're gonna down. Like, you do not realize the impact that you're gonna have on the stuff that you're putting out, for good or bad, whether you are attracting people closer to you or you're pushing them further away, because the clear majority of the people that are going to watch you are just going to watch.
Yeah.
They're not going to interact. They're not going to talk to you. And you just have to not be nervous about putting shit out there. Because when I put out the Wendy's thing, I got 2 DMs from coaches, and they just shit on it.
Well,
now I have to
stuff to the meat.
Well, like, how expensive is that? Like, I could probably make like a Wagyu steak for the same amount. And I'm like, well,
so Wendy's, you can't, you fucking idiot. Exactly.
And that's what I told him. I'm like, listen,
that is a pretentious level of cunt, by the way. That is exactly who, if you're worried about pissing off somebody's like, well, I'm going to just make a steak at home. Well, great. I'm glad you got all your fucking ducks in a row, princess. Good for you. You already got abs. How many people did you help lose weight this year? How did that go for you? Or do you continue to speak from this fucking high horse? This is probably a nice person, John, but I
like him, and I do like him a lot. And
it's like, yo, dude, you missed the whole fucking point. This ain't about fucking this in a vacuum. It's about these people who go to fucking Wendy's every goddamn week. You fucking idiot. No wonder. Like, show me the weight you got off of people this year. Show me talking like that. You show me how that fucking, show me how many 100-pound weight losses you fucking got from that. Fuck that shit. That's the stuff that makes us as coaches and people who try to put these products out there furious. And it makes you very guarded about putting this out there, because what? You're worried about having to defend your statements to somebody who was never going to give you a fucking dollar. So fuck them. Fuck them. The most brash people who are willing to die on the hill of the things they say end up having the most success in this industry. That's a fucking fact.
Don't be a fence sitter.
Yeah.
It's just like it's and this would have been early days because of how many people we interacted with in our previous life, where they were people that just fence sat, were unwilling to draw a line in the sand anywhere. And they were staying just very nebulous and ambiguous to everything. And that is where this is a topic for any of you that are interested about wanting to get into coaching, level it up, any of the things. As you started to think about this and you're listening to these types of podcasts, you have to start here.
Be about
It's why in the last episode that we did, where we talked about the different frameworks and the Revolution framework, and this is going to be a framework that you can get access to. You can reach out to us. It's specifically our results first. It's the R, little R in the acronym of Revolution. It's the framework we use within the Gear Academy to help you do all the things that we do on the consulting side. The reason why the number 2 fucking thing that we tell you to do is get a nutrition product. You need to be able to start to sell this piece because it is immediately the most accessible to anyone that will do business with you. And that's why it is starting to learn how to talk about it, how to think about it, and don't be afraid of any of the people that are out there, how they're going to think, because if you align it correctly with the people that you actually want to help. And that's why, Tyler, you calling out the idea of if you've been doing this, then you have the most important people already at your disposal, which is people that have had success with you. Go get their words, go find out from them. And I like the idea of going back to them, being like, what did you used to eat?
Yeah.
What were the things that you used to like? Because all of us get to experience that. If you go further enough down the road, we just had Thanksgiving. My wife goes, I used to really like the broccoli casserole thing that my mom made for years. She goes, it's boiled broccoli in Velveeta cheese.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I said, that was a casserole? I'm like, I thought that was a soup. I thought it was a broccoli and cheese soup. She goes, no, it's my mom's casserole. So, it's like you're at Thanksgiving. I'm like, oh my God.
That one's got to go.
And she was like, oh my God, I never and it's because, but she is doing her own version of it, which is like, holy shit. Remember when I used to think that was fantastic?
Yeah. So if you don't have a nutrition program, we also have a nice opportunity for you. If you want to see kind of how we fulfill these, like you take the Dudes Rock program that I sell to the fellas. We also have a version of that for the women. You can have Megan can run you through that one as well. They're identical products. Essentially, one's just accountability with me. The other's accountability with Megan. Quantities are slightly adjusted. Macros are slightly adjusted for gender. And you kind of have a range. You want to see how a beginner's focused weight loss program can be done. This is a great way for you to just run through it. Just fucking also, I had some people who bought this through you and I as well. That were like, it was like, yeah, I kind of just, as a coach, as a professional, I kind of want to just shut the fuck up and follow a plan for a little bit anyways. And so they were able to do this and then actually like understand how this product can be delivered to other people. And then fucking, I'd love for you to give me money, but fuck, like buy it, do it. I don't fucking steal it. Write in your own words. Like you'll know how I fulfill the accountability. You'll know how it goes, like how it's set up. So change it to fit how you think people should be. But you need to understand that this is a program that has been extremely successful in helping people lose weight and changing people's lives. And if you don't have one, why wouldn't you just walk through this for 5 weeks and like fucking figure it out? It's like $225. Like, I don't know, give yourself a chance to get familiar with it. And then you can just mimic it. Exactly that. Mimic it, make it your own, and start to do what we'd say about everything, which is when you start coaching and you have successes or failures, you modify it. Every couple of months I go through there and I have to add a few things to the beginning to say, hey, if you want to be successful, do this. Don't do this. There's always these extra points that I need to communicate when somebody maybe falls through the cracks. How could I prevent that? We're always debriefing. And so this is a process where you need to, if you don't know where to start, this is a great starting point for you, and then just build outwardly from there. But if you want to build one from scratch, go for it. I'm fine. But you need to be doing something. You need to be teaching some sort of nutrition. You need to be guiding people in their nutrition so that you can actually find a way to get successful at helping people lose weight. I know y'all can do it in the gym. I know you can work people out really hard. But if you don't have like an actual system,
correct,
process for them to go to, an experience that people need to have, I treat it more like that. It's not my nutrition system. It's like you need to learn these lessons in 5 weeks and not learn them via the math. You need to just know that for these chunks of time, you're not fucking hungry. Don't be such a wuss. You know what I mean? That's the reality of this. I got to break you with some of your bullshit. And then I'm going to make sure that you still are able to feel satisfied when you do eat a big meal at this time, and then what we're trying to avoid and points of emphasis and what to observe. I think that when you learn what you need, what you actually want people to experience, then you just lay that out for them and use this as a template for helping you do that. So if you want help with that, you can message me at Tyler F. and Stone on Instagram, or message the show at the Gym Owners Podcast on Instagram. If you want to work with us directly, we got tons of other shit. Just shoot us a message, email at thedudes@hackyourgym.com, or again, just in the Instagram DMs.
Yeah, and I'll give one other piece that goes back to one of our oldest principles, which is the inside out approach to build up exactly what you just said, Tyler, which is once you have this, it's inside out is you are your, especially for my guys that are brand new, you're just getting started. You start with yourself first. You are your first case study. You are your first testimonial. So it's really impactful for you. Is you as a coach, you have to keep training. You have to keep working out. You have to be what we call is you got to be about that life. Yep. This is why we still that's why I post videos about me fucking deadlifting or squatting weights that are too stupid, where I've used every 45 in the fucking gym. I messaged the one gym owner and I go, you're out of 45s, because I had like loaded everything on the bar. And he's like, what the fuck? I'm like, yeah, you need to go buy some more, and whatever it is, right? Like it's you can still be that, right? Be about that life, but it's this next stage that's really important, is that you start with yourself though. And you want to be able to make it easy, where if someone is going to do that same thing, where now you've tested the nutrition, go on the Dudes Rock thing with you, Tyler, or with Megan, you start it and you test it on yourself. And then you just these are also for those of you that like fucking social media is too confusing or whatever. It's like, you just document your shit. You just say, I've started doing this thing. And you just check in and share what those results are. And then once you know that, now you're not just looking at it as a consumer, now you also as the coach, and you can take this and you can make it yourself. Yeah. Now you give it. Do you have a personal training client already? Do you have people? Now test it on your closest people. And then as you work inside out, this ripple effect that can happen. Well, now you have a full-fledged program that not only has been sharpened, that has caused people over the last year to lose over 1,000 pounds.
Yeah. Between you and I, we crossed the line. I might fall a little short unless I have a big next few weeks, but you and I collectively have covered it.
And I'm counting Megan in this too.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm feeling very confident that we're over 1,000 pounds in just the last 12 months. So it's been iterated that much. Now you can take that as your foundation, apply it to yourself, and build it out and have your own version. Not a lot of people are going to tell you, hey, you should fucking just take this, steal it, and make it your own. But that's the whole what the fuck is the point of us figuring out how to do something well and not have you go do it?
And also what's interesting, like that idea is like, well, I shouldn't just, learn this thing and then turn it. Like, what do you think you're doing with how else you would do it?
Correct.
You're going to take all this stuff you learned from somewhere else and then try to assemble it anyway. So you're already taking stuff you learned elsewhere. This is just a little more packaged for you. So I don't know if you want to give it a try or don't. I don't fucking care. We're trying to help here. So again, this is the mission. This is the revolution. Right. Okay. It's our favorite R word, revolution. Okay. Maybe we better not double down on that favorite. Yeah. Like that. So, all right. Thanks a lot for listening, everybody. John, where do they find you on Instagram?
You can follow me on Instagram at jbanksfl.
Follow the show at the Gym Owners Podcast. Thanks for listening.